So good morning, everyone. Welcome to another interview. It's Dan Eaton here, lead trainer for commercial conversions at Progressive Property. And we've got one of our star students with us this morning. We're going to be talking about his journey from where he was to commercial conversions and some of the things that are going on with his journey at the moment. So good morning, Alex. How are you? Do you want to introduce yourself to the team, to the group?
Hi, good morning. My name is Alex. I'm here, it's a beautiful Monday morning. So yeah, I'm excited about this, and we've been looking at a couple of new projects as well. And the journey has been exciting and it's great.
Cool. So let's get into that then. So Alex, tell the group about you. Who are you? Where did you grow up? What was your schooling like? How did you get into property? Just start with the basics. Where are you? Who are you? Who is Alex?
Well, I'm from Hungary. I'm in Scotland in the past 9 years, so I feel like more Scottish now than Hungarian, pretty much. So I moved here, and my profession is as a chef. I started to build my career, and I became sous chef. So started to run business for big hospitality corporations. So I was doing more of the business side rather than the cooking. Mm-hmm. And it just get me thinking to open a business. So I opened a food truck. I tried different things, and I started to live my life, stand on my own feet, not being employed. And then I was in and out in the kitchen and in business. And one day I was like, well, I want to try something new. And that's when property came up, and I started to train myself. I find Progressive, did trainings and did the commercial conversion training, which been absolutely amazing. And now I'm looking into offices to convert it into residential properties.
That's great. So basically what we're talking about here is your journey is from a chef to a property developer. So when you were a chef, when you started those small businesses, you mentioned that was it like a mobile kitchen or something, or like a mobile food van? What was that about?
Yeah, so I did get into chefing when I was 15. I loved food, absolutely. So I loved cooking and things like that. But I grew up out from the kitchen, just just as a chef. And that's when I was like, okay, what's the cheapest way to have my own place? So obviously start a restaurant it's a risky decision, as well as it's involved a lot of money. So that's when I did buy a rundown food truck, which I fixed up. It was like an old emergency van. So it used to save lives. And then, it was serving burgers at some point.
So you've already been, so basically, the thing we talk about in commercial conversions a lot is the adding value. So it's finding something that you can add value to. And in some ways, that's like a fundamental that runs through all property investment strategies. So you found yourself doing that with an old food van, and you added the value to it by creating it, turning it into a new food or a newer refurbished food van, and then running it as a business.
Yeah, and then I sold it. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So you literally you did the basics of a commercial conversion on a food van. You took something with a low value, you added some value, and then you sold it on for some profit.
Yeah, pretty much turn something smelly into a nice money-making burger one, pretty much. Yeah.
I love that, Alex. I love that. And yeah, so did you find yourself with a bit of a bug for that entrepreneurial spirit then to not want to work for a corporation or a big hospitality company and work for yourself? Is that what got you into that?
Yeah, I think it came from my whole childhood. I was a bit of a businessman, selling sport cars and swapping them with friends. I was talking to my mom once, and she was like, well, you blocked the corridor and you didn't let anyone through if you didn't buy the Kinder toys. And I was 7 years old. So basically they give me Kinder toys, and I was selling back the toys to them just to pass through the bathroom or something,
Oh.
So yeah, I think it's just how I grow up somehow.
And then you wanted to take that and put it into property. So is property like a passion of yours, or do you just see it as a vehicle to get the sort of lifestyle that you want? What drives you to do what you're doing at the moment?
Well, I thought it's just going to be a money-making vehicle. And then I realized how passionate I am about to helping people if they struggle through property, or they are in a position that they are not able to move. And as well, to bringing smelly properties back into life, it's just a good feeling to go through the process and see the end goal. It's almost like chefing. You get a piece of broccoli and then you create something beautiful, and when it's on the plate, you just see and just like, yeah, it's amazing and it tastes good. So like, I guess with the house is the same. When someone moves in, like, yeah, it looks amazing and they feel good about living there or getting the keys, and just making people happy.
Oh, nice. I'd be interested to know, anyone who's watching this, you can feel free to comment in the below whether or not you agree with Alex that a piece of broccoli is going to be a wonderful thing at the end of it. I know broccoli divides opinion across the UK around whether that's a nice piece of vegetable or not. Personally, I like broccoli, Alex, so I get the analogy, exactly what you're saying. But
yeah, maybe I should bring up some steaks.
Yeah. Well, again, let's not divide opinion, because some, vegetarians might not agree with you on that. But the concept of taking some raw ingredients and then creating something that's wonderful. Absolutely. Let's not get sidetracked on food. Imagine making a few people hungry while we're talking about this. But yeah, so great. So you realised that was what you were wanting to do. So how did you get involved in property then? What was your first steps in property?
First up, I just turned up into networking events, and then I did like a free course. Get a couple of books from Rob and Mark. I read all of them pretty much in the beginning before I went through the training process, just to sign up to one training, see how it goes. And then I did some buy to lets in the beginning, raise finance from investors. And then in the same time, I was doing some sourcing as well, because from the chefing, I didn't have lots of money or experience how to raise funds, and, just build up some clicks. And then now I'm into property developments, where I can feel I could bring some more creative energy into that space, which is one part I really love.
So you mentioned there, Rob and Mark, so Rob Moore and Mark Comer, the co-founders of Progressive Property. They've obviously got I think 800 odd properties between them, either bought, sold, or managed. I mean, Mark's latest commercial conversions like 121,000 square foot, 99 apartments. But the principles and the processes that they do and that we teach at Progressive are pretty much the same as what you've already experienced. It's just going to go up. You mentioned there about getting investors. How are you finding any investors? Did you find investors for your buy-to-lets?
Yeah, so because I didn't have any money, I had to. So first I had to create a deal which was desirable for the investors. And then I was just talking to people. Like in the beginning, it was a lot of people I had to talk to, because I knew almost no one, just people who is working in the hospitality industry. And usually they don't have money to invest. So I really had to think outside of the box and move out of my comfort zone. And yeah, it happened. So it was a bit stressful on the first couple of deals, but then when I had the list of people around me, it just became much easier and smoother as well, when I know who wants what and how they want to invest, and was basically the step-by-step process how they can invest.
It's great that you say that, and one of the things that we experience quite a lot is people talking about investors and, I don't know anyone, I can't get any investors, I can't do property because I haven't got any money. But what would you say to those people? Because that was pretty much exactly where you were. If people say to you they can't because they haven't got any money, what would you say to them?
Well, it's just keep going and keep talking to people. I think self-confidence is the key, because people will feel it. They will feel how you talk about the deal, how you talk about to yourself and about yourself. They will know, because they know these kind of things, how the money works, how the people works. So they will pick up on if you are a bit unstable and you feel this deal, I want to do it, but it doesn't really stack up, but you still want to do it for some reason. And I think that's why self-confident and just make sure the deal is stuck. And if the deal is stuck, you can be 100% sure that what you offer is true value. So there is no doubt in yourself when you're talking to the investor. They're not going to doubt you, and they're not going to doubt the deal.
I love that. So believe in yourself and others will believe in you too. Yeah, that's really powerful stuff. Quite difficult to do though, isn't it? So particularly when you're starting off. But I presume that you had that experience where you just did those things and sure enough it worked, and that then gave you more confidence to go and do more.
Yeah, pretty much. How I saw this thing is there was no choice. I had to succeed because I went all in. I did quite like large amount of money into my training, into myself before I invested in any property. So there was no other option. I had to succeed. So for me, there was no doubt that, yeah, this is not working. The question was when and how it's going to work.
I love that, Alex. You know, we talk about, particularly with the commercial conversion things as well, you know, remembering the why, like, yeah, who, you know, why are we doing this? What are we converting it into? The how parts, you know, in some ways, just a process. And what you've outlined there is exactly that. You know, it's about doing it. There's no second choice here. There's no failure. Failure is not an option in some ways. It's just how you're going to do it. You know, you need to put yourself into that. It's a great saying, actually, that I really like at the generally of these conversations is it's not about your resources, i.e. it's not about the money in your bank or the network that you currently have. It's about your resourcefulness. So it's how resourceful are you going to be? If you don't have the right network, how are you going to go and get the right network? If you don't have the investors, how are you going to go and get the investors? If you don't have the money in your bank, how are you going to go and get the money to do the deals? And I absolutely love that. And it's great to hear you say that from what you've experienced and what you've done. So just a little bit more about what you've done then. So that's the past. That's where you were. You were the chef and the entrepreneur and the burger van. Now into property. So you invested in some courses with Progressive Property. Talk us through those.
Yeah, so I invested courses. I did like service accommodation and deal sourcing, and the latest I did commercial conversion excellence. I joined to the mastermind as well, which been absolutely incredible. So I'm like very confident that it's just gonna go. Again, it just takes a bit of time in the beginning to build up the process, just to make sure everything is there and that's how it should be. And yeah, it's just a bit of a time, but absolutely Progressive Property been helping me a lot through the beginning till now to build up my confidence and knowledge from basically A to Z, pretty much.
Fantastic. But you've gone and taken that knowledge, haven't you? You've gone and taken it and put it into action. So talk us through one of the couple of deals you've been looking at that you've been looking at recently. Talk us through those.
So right now I'm looking at the office building. It's a small conversion, probably 8 one-bedroom flats and a large parking plot in the back. So we will convert it first, the offices, and then we sell it on to, and in the same time we will put the application through for 4 houses in the backyard or 2 maybe large HMOs. So like obviously after the surveys come back, we can play around with it, like what we can do, and obviously just throw some ideas and then what we want to achieve for the second part.
Brilliant. And people watching this will be talking, some people will say, hang on a minute, Dan, you just picked someone who's doing a deal that you want to highlight and showcase. But that's not necessarily true, Alex, because there's some things that, as you mentioned yourself, property is not necessarily easy and it takes a while to get going. Why don't you talk us through the deal that you were recently looking at? Let's use that as an example of how some of these things aren't quite as easy as some people think they are.
Well, there was a property, like a big project I was looking into. And first, when I did my research, everything was great. I thought I was looking at something much smaller than I actually come through. And everything stuck. Money was there. Investor was on the board. But on the basement, somehow it just didn't feel right because of the lights and different aspects of the property. So like we did a lot of work in the past like 2.5 months to make sure this deal is actually going to happen. And then the third time when I was there and I was walking around and just trying to visualize the space and how people will live there, it just didn't feel right. So like taking off that 9 property, which was not as desirable as I wanted to, it's just made the deal difficult. And it was a tough decision to walk away and speak with my investor. Look, this is not happening, and like explaining this to everyone. But like end of the day, we do this to make sure we bring value to the table, to the investor, to the banks, and to the people who is actually going to live there. And as long as it feels good, go ahead, of course. But yeah, just out of making money, it just wouldn't feel right to actually build something that I wouldn't want to live. So like in that basis, we just had to walk away, which was obviously not a happy day when you've worked on something for 2 or 3 months. But end of the day, you have to protect everyone who is being involved in this property, and that's my job.
It's really good to hear that, Alex, because we know we talk a lot, don't we, about you need to add value, but you need to think about who you're adding that value to. And just because you can convert, as in this case, you mentioned that basement, just because you could convert it into 9 apartments or 9 flats, someone is going to have to live there. And if you yourself are not willing to live there, or you don't think it feels right to live there, then it's really, really good to hear that you've not done that, even though you had a deal, you had the investors on board, you could have pressed ahead with that and made those into 9 apartments. But then you'd be, well, probably really, really unhappy at the end of it that you've got them. And in some ways, people are living there, even though you wouldn't want to live there yourself. So it's good to hear that. And we do talk about the value about adding value to the people who are going to live there. So really, really pleased you brought that out, actually, Alex. So that's really, really good. And hats off to you as well for walking away from what was a potentially very profitable deal just because it wasn't the right one. And we talk a lot as well, and I think people should think about this. And just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should do something. So yeah, that's great to hear. So 2 examples there. So one that was going to be working, but you walked away from it because it wasn't the right deal, even though you had all the investors lined up. One that you're looking at the moment, which could potentially be a deal. Is the same investor interested in coming on to the second one after the first instance?
Well, hopefully, because obviously I promised something, like we're gonna go ahead, and then it's been changed. So hopefully he will be still on board. Mm-hmm. We did work together in the past on a couple of deals where like obviously sometimes things taking longer, or like you have to change something, and yeah, he was always on the board, so he's been great. So hopefully if I bring something new, he will be on board again.
Brilliant. Really good to hear that, Alex. So what's the future hold for you then? What are you going to be doing next?
Yeah, I hopefully this office, that I would love that project for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then longer term?
Longer term, I think I'm just going to keep doing this for a while, just getting offices into residential properties, and after a while, maybe in new builds, I will have a look into. But I'm enjoying commercial conversions. Like I can leave my creative side and just walk in and ask what this can be. And it's just so much. It's not just offices, it's like factories, industrial estates, and things like that. And you just walk in and you ask, okay, what this can be. Because usually in residential property, you walk in, you need a kitchen, you need a bathroom, you do the refurb inside, but it's nothing like what this can be. It already is what it can be, right?
So it's great to see your passion coming out there as well about creating residential accommodation from commercial or industrial properties. It's good to see that come through. What would you say to anyone who's thinking about getting involved in commercial conversions? What would you say to those top people?
Don't wait too long to get into it. That's for sure. I've been told many times as well, you have to do this and that, and you have to achieve this and that before you can do commercial conversions, and it's just not true. It's good to have those experience for sure. It is good to do a couple of deals, get a couple of investors on the board, because you are not working from the scratch. But essentially, you don't have to.
And why would you think commercial conversions? You mentioned there about don't wait because commercial conversions, get into it now. What is it about getting into commercial conversions now that's really, really key?
Well, it's a lot of changes happening in the world. So if you are following right now, the residential properties are just going crazy. As well, in the same time, like a lot of things happening commercially, where obviously businesses are moving premises or they are moving online, so they don't need shops anymore and they don't need offices anymore because everyone's going to be in home office. So you can get office or a small shop or a warehouse much cheaper. As well is going to be much more coming onto the market. So if you know how to seize these opportunities and what to do with them, then you can make money. And commercial conversions are not just let's make 30, 40, 50 units. You can make 2, 4, 6 units as well and still make really decent money on it.
Yeah, it's so true, Alex, so true. Is it still there?
Yeah, you back? You went for a while. Yeah.
I completely froze there. So sorry, that's another good reason why it's not live. We can cut that bit out. So we're just talking there, Alex, about the commercial conversions and people thinking that it needs to be sort of 30 or 50 or hundreds of units. But you quite rightly mentioned that it could be 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever, and they can still be very, very profitable deals. So, I mean, I'm an advocate of starting, commercial conversions as soon as possible, but not necessarily starting with like the 30 office conversions, although I know people can do that. The process is exactly the same. But a shop converted to 3 or 5 units is a really, really good commercial conversion, which can, in some cases, bring in enough income for people to leave their jobs. So it's really good to hear you think in a similar sort of way as well. So Alex, it's been really, really good having a conversation with you today. So what was your final thoughts on commercial conversions to those watching?
The final thought is do it, get educated, get some knowledge in, and then do not overthink it. Just do the work day by day, build up, and then get your first deal over the line.
I love that, Alex. Yeah, get going. Don't wait for it. And if people want to get a hold of you and have a conversation with you, are they okay to do that? Can they reach out to you on Facebook Messenger or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Please just drop me a message and we can have a call. Like if you are struggling to find investors, or if you are an investor and you want to work with me on commercial conversions and in the future and make some money together, then please get in touch.
Lovely, Alex. Love that. Well, thanks very much for your time this morning. It's been great chatting to you. And I think the whole chef to property developer, we need to brand that or something. We need to make that a thing because it's really good hearing your story there. So thanks very much for joining us, Alex. And thanks everyone in the community for watching. If you have any comments, please feel free to put them below. And if you want to reach out to Alex, then do so. As you can hear from what we've been talking about this morning, he's going to be going places. So get a hold of Alex and send a friend request through, etc. So Alex, thanks very much for your time this morning. Anything to say goodbye?
No, thank you very much as well, and thank you for watching. Hope to speak soon.
Thanks very much, Alex. See you soon.
Thank you. See you.